I would never deprive myself of living this life to the fullest. Money exists to be spent, women exist to be conquered, and rules exist to be broken. Dante Ashworth declared as he stepped out of his limited edition Bugatti champagne bottle. In one hand, his latest conquest's diamond earring in the other. At 29, he embodied everything wrong with inherited wealth. Gorgeous, reckless, and utterly convinced that the world was his personal playground. The flashing cameras of paparazzi illuminated his chiseled features as he stumbled slightly, his $1,000 shirt unbuttoned and his dark hair perfectly disheveled. "Life's too short to pretend poverty builds character," he shouted at the reporters, raising the champagne bottle like a trophy. But his triumphant grin faded the moment he spotted the black sedan waiting outside his penthouse, his father's car. Theodore Ashworth never made house calls unless someone was about to lose everything. 20 minutes later, Dante sat across from his father in the marble-floored study, the champagne buzz evaporating faster than his latest girlfriend's interest and commitment. Theodore, at 68, commanded respect with his silver hair and steel blue eyes that had built the Ashworth financial empire from nothing. "Your little spectacle tonight made the evening news," Theodore said, sliding his tablet across the mahogany desk. The headline read, "Ashworth Heir's latest scandal. Casino brawl costs millions." Dante barely glanced at it. "So, our stock price always recovers." "Not this time." Theodore's voice carried the weight of finality. The board called. "An emergency meeting. They want you removed from succession." "They can't do that. I'm your only son." "They can, and they will, unless you prove you're capable of growth." Theodore stood, walking to the window overlooking the city skyline. "Which is why you're getting married." The words hit Dante like a physical blow. "Excuse me?" 3 weeks from today, you'll marry Isabella Hartwell. 27 years old, works as a nurse in the pediatric ward at St. Mary's Hospital, volunteers at the animal shelter, and sends half her paycheck to her disabled younger brother's therapy treatments. Theodore slid a photograph across the desk. The image showed a woman with gentle green eyes and auburn hair pulled back in a practical bun, wearing scrubs and smiling genuinely at a young patient. She radiated the kind of warmth that came from genuine caring, not calculated charm. "She's beautiful in a way that matters," Theodore continued. "Something you've clearly never encountered." Dante's laugh was bitter. "You're actually trying to arrange my marriage like we're living in the 18th century? I'm trying to save your soul before it's too late." Theodore's voice softened slightly. "Isabella's brother needs specialized treatment that costs more than she'll make in 10 years. Her situation is desperate, but her character is unshakable. The perfect teacher for someone who's forgotten what real values look like. And if I refuse this medieval arrangement, then your cousin Victoria takes over the company, and you can spend the rest of your life explaining to society pages why the Ashworth heir is working as a middle manager somewhere." Theodore's smile was sharp as a blade. "The prenup protects both sides. She receives enough to secure her brother's treatment regardless, but if you divorce within 12 months, that's all she gets. However, if you can make this work..." "If I can make what work? A fake marriage to a stranger?" "If you can learn to value something beyond your own reflection." Theodore moved closer, and for a moment, Dante saw something like hope in his father's eyes. "She doesn't know about your reputation. To her, you're simply Dante Ashworth, a businessman who can provide security for her family. You have a chance to be seen for who you could become, not who you've been." Dante felt the walls closing in. Outside, Manhattan glittered with possibilities he'd always taken for granted. "This is insane. This is your last chance." Theodore placed a gentle hand on his son's shoulder. "Isabella Hartwell is flying in tomorrow to meet you. Try not to terrify her before the wedding. And Dante? She's already sacrificing everything she believes in about love and marriage to save her brother. The least you can do is show her the respect she deserves." As his father left the room, Dante stared at Isabella's photograph. Those green eyes seemed to see right through him, challenging him in ways no woman ever had. She was agreeing to marry a stranger, to save someone she loved, while he couldn't even commit to a dinner reservation. For the first time in his privileged life, Dante Ashworth wondered if he was about to meet someone who would change everything or destroy him completely. The wedding was in 3 weeks, but his real education was about to begin tomorrow. The game had changed, and suddenly, Dante wasn't sure he knew how to play. I've never met anyone who could afford to waste more money on a single lunch than I make in 3 months. Yet here I am, about to marry him, Isabella Hartwell whispered to herself as she stood outside the exclusive Le Bernardin restaurant, her hands trembling slightly as she smoothed down her only decent dress. A simple, navy blue number she'd bought for her nursing school graduation 3 years ago. The contrast was jarring. While wealthy patrons glided past her in designer gowns and tailored suits, Isabella clutched her small purse and tried to ignore the judgmental stares. She'd never felt more out of place, but the image of her brother, Tommy's hopeful face that morning, gave her strength. His latest physical therapy session had shown remarkable progress, and the experimental treatment could give him a real chance at walking again. Miss Hartwell, a perfectly groomed maître, appeared beside her. Mr. Ashworth is waiting for you. Isabella followed him through the opulent restaurant, past crystal chandeliers and tables where single bottles of wine cost more than her monthly rent. At a private corner table sat the man who would become her husband in 18 days, and her first impression nearly made her turn around and walk out. Dante Ashworth was everything she'd expected and worse, devastatingly handsome in a way that seemed almost unfair, with dark hair that probably cost more to maintain than her car payment, and clothes that screamed money from every thread. But it was his expression that stopped her cold. Bored, entitled, and looking at her like she was an amusing inconvenience. He didn't even stand when she approached. "So, you're the charity case," Dante said, not bothering to look up from his phone as she sat down. "I have to admit the photos didn't do you justice. You're prettier than I expected for someone desperate enough to marry a stranger." Isabella's jaw dropped. In 30 seconds, he'd managed to insult her circumstances, her appearance, and her dignity. "Excuse me?" "Oh, don't look so shocked. We both know why we're here." Dante finally put down his phone, his ice blue eyes scanning her like she was merchandise. "You need money. I need a wife to appease my father's antiquated ideas about responsibility. It's purely transactional." "Transactional?" Isabella's voice rose slightly, causing nearby diners to glance over. She lowered it to a fierce whisper. "We're talking about marriage, not a business merger." Dante's laugh was cold and bitter. "Marriage, business merger, what's the difference? Both involve contracts, both have expiration dates, and both usually end badly." He gestured carelessly to the sommelier. "The most expensive bottle you have. My future bride and I are celebrating our arrangement." Isabella watched him order wine that cost more than Tommy's monthly medications and felt something inside, her snap. "You know what? You're right. This is transactional, and my transaction requires that you show me basic human decency for the next 12 months, not treat me like I'm some gold digger who trapped you." For the first time, Dante looked genuinely surprised. "Did you just lecture me?" "Yes, I did." Isabella leaned forward, her green eyes flashing with a fire that made Dante's breath catch unexpectedly. "Let me explain something to you, Mr. Ashworth. I'm sacrificing everything I believed about love and marriage to help my brother. I'm giving up my dreams of finding someone who actually cares about me to marry a stranger who clearly thinks I'm beneath him. But I will not sit here and let you humiliate me because you're having a tantrum about Daddy cutting off your trust fund." The restaurant seemed to fade around them as Dante stared at this woman who'd just torn into him with the precision of a surgeon and the passion of a warrior. No one, absolutely no one, had ever spoken to him like that. "I didn't expect you to have such a backbone," he admitted, and for a moment, his practiced arrogance slipped, revealing something almost vulnerable underneath. "And I didn't expect you to be quite this awful." Isabella picked up her water glass with steady hands. But here we are. So let's establish some ground rules. I'll play the part of your devoted wife in public, attend your fancy parties, and smile for the cameras. In return, you'll treat me with basic respect and remember that I'm a human being, not a prop in your personal drama. Dante found himself oddly impressed despite his determination to remain detached. And what about the more intimate aspects of this arrangement? Isabella's cheeks flushed, but her voice remained firm. We're adults. We'll figure it out as we go. But don't expect me to swoon just because you're rich and handsome. I've seen enough entitled rich boys in the ER to know that money can't fix what's broken inside. What makes you think something's broken inside? Me? The question slipped out before Dante could stop it, and he immediately regretted showing even that small crack in his armor. Isabella studied his face, and for a moment, her expression softened. Because happy people don't need to prove their worth by tearing others down. And people who are truly confident don't need to announce it by buying bottles of wine that cost more than most people's cars. The waiter arrived with their impossibly expensive wine, and Dante watched Isabella politely decline a glass, asking for water instead. Another small act of principle that somehow made his chest tighten unexpectedly. You really think you can fix me? Dante asked, his voice quieter now. I don't think you need fixing, Isabella replied, surprising them both. I think you need someone who sees past the performance to whatever's underneath. But that's not my job. My job is to be your wife for 12 months, help you prove whatever it is you need to prove to your father, and secure my brother's future. Everything else is optional. As they sat in silence, both lost in thought, neither noticed the paparazzi, photographer discreetly snapping photos from across the street. By tomorrow, their engagement would be front-page news, and the real performance would begin. But something had shifted in that restaurant. Dante had expected to intimidate a desperate woman into submission. Instead, he'd met someone who challenged him in ways he'd never experienced. And Isabella had prepared herself to endure a year with a spoiled rich boy, not to discover glimpses of depth beneath the designer facade. The game had become far more complicated than either of them had anticipated. I never imagined that becoming engaged would feel like being thrown to the wolves, but apparently, that's exactly what marrying into Manhattan's elite means. Isabella stared at her phone in horror as notification after notification flooded her screen. The photo from their restaurant meeting had somehow made it to every gossip site in the city, with headlines ranging from Ashworth heirs mystery bride to From Scrubs to Riches, the Cinderella story. Her phone rang for the 15th time that morning. This time it was her best friend Maya Chen, practically shrieking through the speaker. Izzy, are you insane? That's Dante Ashworth. The Dante Ashworth. The guy who once bought a yacht just to throw a party and then forgot about it. I know exactly who he is, Isabella muttered, pacing around her tiny apartment while avoiding the paparazzi camped outside her building. Trust me, his charming personality made quite the impression. Girl, his net worth has more zeros than I can count. Please tell me you're not actually marrying him just for Tommy's treatment. Yes. Isabella's voice was firm. And before you lecture me about love and fairy tales, remember that Tommy might never walk again without this experimental therapy. Sometimes love means making impossible choices. Meanwhile, across town in his penthouse, Dante was dealing with his own crisis. His assistant Marcus Rivera burst through the door looking frazzled. Sir, we have a situation. The engagement announcement has gone viral, and everyone wants interviews. Your phone hasn't stopped ringing, and there are protesters outside the building. Protesters? Dante looked up from his laptop, where he'd been reading the surprisingly harsh commentary about their relationship. The public seemed divided between those calling Isabella a gold digger and others painting him as a heartless playboy corrupting an innocent nurse. Some women's rights group calling it the commodification of marriage and a bunch of your ex-girlfriends, claiming they're heartbroken, Marcus explained. Also, your father wants to see you both at the charity gala tonight. Black tie, full society presence. He says it's time to show the world this is real. Dante groaned. The Metropolitan Museum Gala was the social event of the season, where Manhattan's elite gathered to see and be seen. It would be their first public appearance as an engaged couple, and he had no idea how Isabella would handle the pressure. That evening, Dante stood outside Isabella's apartment building, ignoring the flashing cameras as he waited. When she emerged, his breath caught in his throat. The simple black evening gown she wore was clearly borrowed. He could tell by the way it didn't quite fit perfectly, but something about her natural elegance made every designer-clad socialite look overdone. "You clean up nice," he said, offering his arm with surprising gentleness. "Thanks. Maya's dress. Emergency loan." Isabella's smile was nervous but genuine. "Fair warning, I've never been to anything fancier than a hospital fundraiser. If I embarrass you, you won't." The certainty in his voice surprised them both. "Just stay close to me. These people can smell fear." The limousine ride was tense, filled with Dante's last-minute coaching about who was who in their social circle. But when they arrived at the Met, stepping onto the red carpet in a blaze of flashbulbs, something magical happened. Isabella's nervousness melted away, and she transformed into someone who belonged there, not because of her clothes or jewelry, but because of her genuine warmth. "Dante, darling." Vivian Sterling, a notorious socialite and one of Dante's former flames, appeared like a shark sensing blood. "And this must be your charity project." Before Dante could respond, Isabella stepped forward with a smile that could melt ice. "Actually, I'm Isabella, his fiancée, and you must be Vivian. Dante's told me so much about you." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "All good things, I hope?" "Oh, he said you were unforgettable." Isabella's tone was perfectly sweet, but Dante caught the subtle steel underneath. How lovely to finally meet the woman who taught him what he definitely doesn't want in a partner. Dante nearly choked on his champagne as Vivian's face went through several shades of red before she stalked away. "Did you just destroy Vivian Sterling with a smile?" "Nursing teaches you to handle difficult personalities with grace," Isabella replied calmly. "Though I admit, dealing with spoiled socialites isn't that different from managing toddlers having tantrums." As the evening progressed, Dante watched Isabella work the room like she'd been born to it. She listened genuinely to the elderly philanthropist Mrs. Pemberton's stories about her late husband, asked thoughtful questions about Dr. Harrison's research foundation, and somehow made the notoriously difficult Senator Walsh laugh until tears streamed down his face. "She's remarkable." Theodore appeared beside his son, watching Isabella comfort a young woman who'd clearly had too much champagne. Not what I expected when I arranged this marriage." "What did you expect?" Dante asked, unable to take his eyes off Isabella, as she gently guided the distressed woman to a quiet corner. "Someone who would challenge you. I didn't expect someone who would also inspire you." Theodore's smile was knowing. "Look around, son. Half the men in this room are wondering where you found her, and their wives are taking notes on how to be that effortlessly gracious." Dante did look around and realized his father was right. Isabella had become the center of attention, not through wealth or status, but through something far rarer, authentic human connection. She treated the billionaire tech mogul and the museum janitor with the same respect, remembered personal details people mentioned in passing, and made everyone feel like the most important person in the room. "May I have this dance?" Dante appeared at Isabella's elbow as the orchestra began a slow waltz. On the dance floor, surrounded by Manhattan's most powerful people, something shifted between them. Isabella's hand in his felt perfectly right, and when she looked up at him with those remarkable green eyes, Dante forgot about the cameras, the contracts, and the complications. "You're full of surprises," he murmured as they swayed to the music. "So are you. I didn't expect you to be such a good dancer." Isabella's smile was soft, unguarded. "Or to defend me to Vivian Sterling." When did I defend you? When she made that crack about charity projects, you stepped closer to me, subtle, but protective. Isabella's observation made Dante's chest tighten unexpectedly. It was nice. As the song ended, Dante found himself reluctant to let her go. For the first time in his adult life, he'd experienced what it felt like to be proud of the woman on his arm, not because of how she looked or what she could do for his image, but because of who she was. The evening ended with more photos, more handshakes, and more speculation about their whirlwind romance. But as they rode home in comfortable silence, both Dante and Isabella were thinking the same dangerous thought. Maybe this arrangement wouldn't be as simple as they'd imagined. The performance was becoming something real, and neither of them was prepared for what that might mean. I never thought I'd say this, but maybe being rich doesn't automatically make someone a terrible person, though Dante Ashworth is certainly testing that theory, Isabella muttered to herself as she stood outside St. Mary's Children's Hospital at 6 a.m, clutching 2 cups of coffee and wondering why her soon-to-be husband had insisted on meeting her here of all places. She'd been working a double shift in the pediatric ward when Dante's text arrived. "Meet me at your hospital tomorrow morning. There's something I need to see." No explanation, no context. Just another cryptic command from the man who seemed to specialize in keeping her off balance. A sleek black sedan pulled up, and Dante emerged looking surprisingly subdued. Gone was his usual designer armor. Instead, he wore simple dark jeans and a navy sweater that made his blue eyes even more striking. But it was his expression that caught Isabella's attention, uncertain, almost vulnerable. "You came," she said, offering him one of the coffees. "You doubted I would." Dante accepted the cup, their fingers brushing briefly. The simple contact sent an unexpected jolt through both of them. "Honestly, yes. This isn't exactly your usual scene." Isabella gestured to the modest hospital building. No red carpet, no photographers, just sick kids and overworked staff. Dante was quiet for a long moment, staring at the hospital entrance. "I wanted to understand what you do. What makes you..." He struggled for the words. "What makes you who you are?" Isabella studied his face, seeing something she'd never noticed before. Genuine curiosity mixed with what looked almost like shame. "Why?" "Because at the gala, watching you with all those people, I realized I don't know how to connect with anyone the way you do. I've spent my whole life buying relationships, not building them." His honesty surprised them both. "I thought, maybe if I saw you in your element I might understand." Something in Isabella's chest softened. "Come on then, but fair warning, it's going to be nothing like your world." The next 3 hours changed everything Dante thought he knew about strength, purpose, and what really mattered. He watched Isabella transform into someone even more remarkable than he'd imagined. A healer who could make a frightened 6-year-old laugh while administering medication, who remembered every child's name and favorite story, who somehow maintained hope in the face of unimaginable suffering. "That's Sarah," Isabella explained quietly as they observed a pale girl of about 8 who was drawing with colored pencils. "She's been fighting leukemia for 2 years. Her parents can barely afford the treatments, but she never complains. She draws pictures for the other kids to cheer them up." Dante watched Sarah hand a crayon drawing to a younger boy, her thin face lighting up with joy at his delighted response. "She's so small, but incredibly brave. Braver than most adults." "I know." Isabella's voice was soft with affection. "She wants to be an artist when she grows up. I tell her she already is one." Without thinking, Dante found himself walking over to Sarah's bedside. "That's a beautiful drawing. Is that a castle?" Sarah's eyes widened at the handsome stranger, but Isabella's presence made her feel safe. "It's a magical hospital where everyone gets better, and there's ice cream for breakfast." "Ice cream for breakfast sounds perfect," Dante said seriously. "I think every magical place should have that rule." As they continued the rounds, Dante met Tommy, a teenager with cerebral palsy who was Isabella's brother. The family resemblance was clear. They shared the same determined green eyes and stubborn chin. But where Isabella was diplomatic, Tommy was direct. "So you're the rich guy marrying my sister for a business deal," Tommy said from his wheelchair, his words slightly slurred but his intelligence sharp as a blade. "Tommy!" Isabella protested, but Dante held up a hand. "Yes, I am. What do you think about that?" Tommy studied him with unsettling intensity. "I think you're an idiot if you don't realize how lucky you are. Isabella could have married any doctor or lawyer who actually loved her. Instead, she chose to save me by marrying someone who sees her as a contract." The words hit Dante like a physical blow. "I don't... Yeah, you do. But here's the thing. Izzy doesn't do anything halfway. She's going to try to make this marriage work, even if it kills her. So you better decide real quick whether you're going to let her, or if you're going to keep pretending she's just another acquisition." Later, as they sat in the hospital cafeteria sharing terrible coffee and surprisingly good sandwiches, Dante was unusually quiet. Isabella watched him process everything he'd seen, noting the way his usual arrogance had completely disappeared. "Overwhelming?" she asked gently. "I've never seen anything like this," Dante admitted. "These kids are facing things that would destroy most adults, and they're happy, hopeful. How is that possible?" "Because they have people who love them fighting for them every day. Love doesn't make the pain go away, but it makes it bearable." Isabella's fingers absently traced patterns on the table. "That's what family means. Being willing to sacrifice everything for someone else's happiness. Is that what you're doing? Sacrificing everything?" Isabella met his eyes, and the honesty there took his breath away. "Yes, but it doesn't feel like sacrifice when it's for Tommy. He's my whole world, Dante. The only family I have left." "What happened to your parents?" "Car accident when I was 22. Tommy was 15 and his disabilities meant he needed constant care. I dropped out of pre-med, became a nurse instead so I could work while taking care of him." Isabella's voice was matter-of-fact, but Dante could hear the years of struggle underneath. "We've been a team ever since." Dante felt something crack open inside his chest. This woman had given up her dreams of becoming a doctor to care for. Her disabled brother had worked multiple jobs to pay for his treatments, and was now marrying a stranger to secure his future. Meanwhile, Dante had spent the same years complaining about trust fund restrictions and throwing tantrums when his credit cards were temporarily frozen. "I don't deserve you," he said quietly. "Good thing this isn't about what you deserve." Isabella's smile was soft but sad. "It's about what Tommy needs." As they prepared to leave, Dante did something that surprised everyone, including himself. He stopped by the children's ward and spoke quietly to the head nurse. Within an hour, the hospital had received an anonymous donation large enough to fund Sarah's entire treatment and establish an art therapy program for young patients. Isabella only found out when Sarah's mother tearfully thanked her for sending an angel. When she confronted Dante in the parking lot, he shrugged uncomfortably. "It's just money. You showed me how to spend it on something that actually matters." For the first time since their engagement began, Isabella looked at Dante and saw not the spoiled billionaire or the calculated businessman, but a man who was capable of genuine goodness when someone showed him how to access it. "Thank you," she said simply, and the gratitude in her voice made Dante's chest tighten with unfamiliar emotion. As they stood together in the late afternoon sun, both realized that their carefully constructed arrangement was becoming something far more complicated and dangerous. It was becoming real. The question was, what would they do about it? With only 10 days until their wedding, the stakes had never been higher. "I never believed in fairy tales until I found myself living in one. Except the prince turned out to be more complicated than any storybook ever warned, and I'm not sure if this ends with happily ever after or what the hell have I done?" Isabella whispered to her reflection, as Elena Rodriguez, Manhattan's most sought-after wedding planner, circled her like a predatory bird, adjusting the couture wedding gown that cost more than most people's houses. 3 days before the wedding, the Ashworth estate had been transformed into something from a magazine cover. White roses cascaded from every surface, crystal chandeliers hung from silk-draped pavilions, and an army of caterers prepared food that would feed a small country. It was beautiful, extravagant, and completely overwhelming for a woman whose idea of a fancy dinner was takeout Chinese that didn't come from a food truck. "The dress needs to be taken in at the waist," Elena declared, speaking about Isabella, as if she weren't in the room. "And we must do something about her hair. Perhaps extensions. The Ashworth women have always had more presence." Isabella caught sight of herself in the floor-length mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. The wedding gown was undeniably stunning, layers of silk and lace that transformed her into some ethereal creature, but it felt like a costume. She was playing dress-up in someone else's life, preparing to marry someone she was only beginning to understand. "The hair is fine as it is," came a deep voice from the doorway. Dante stood there looking devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo fitting, but his eyes were fixed on Isabella with an intensity that made her breath catch. "She doesn't need extensions or whatever else you're planning. She's perfect exactly as she is." Elena's eyebrows shot up in surprise. In her 15 years of planning society weddings, grooms rarely interfered with the aesthetic decisions. "Mr. Ashworth, surely you want your bride to look her absolute best." "She does," Dante said firmly, stepping into the room. His gaze never left Isabella's face. "Elena, could you give us a moment?" The wedding planner huffed, but gathered her assistants and swept out, muttering about artistic vision and impossible clients. When they were alone, the silence stretched between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. "You look..." Dante's voice trailed off as he struggled for words that weren't inadequate. "Ridiculous? Overdressed? Like I'm playing princess in someone else's castle?" Isabella's laugh was shaky. "Because that's how I feel." "Beautiful," Dante said simply. "You look beautiful. But more than that, you look like yourself. Even in all this." He gestured at the elaborate gown and the chaos of wedding preparations, visible through the windows. "You haven't changed who you are to fit into my world." Something in his voice made Isabella study his face more carefully. "Are you okay? You seem terrified," Dante admitted with a self-deprecating smile. "Which is ridiculous because this was my father's idea. We both agreed to the terms, and it's just a business arrangement, right?" The question hung in the air between them, loaded with implications neither was ready to voice. Isabella felt her heart skip in a way that had nothing to do with the tight corset of her dress. "Right," she said softly, but the word felt like a lie. Their moment was interrupted by the arrival of Sophia Ashworth, Dante's aunt and the family, matriarch, sweeping into the room like a force of nature. At 65, she commanded respect with her silver hair, sharp intelligence, and the kind of old-money elegance that couldn't be bought or taught. "So this is the young woman who's captured my nephew's attention," Sophia said, circling Isabella with the same critical eye Elena had used, but with far more warmth. "Tell me, dear, what do you see in this overgrown child?" "Aunt Sophia," Dante warned, but his aunt waved him off. "I'm serious. Half the debutantes in New York have thrown themselves at him for years, and he's never given any of them a second glance. Yet here you are, a nurse from Queens, and suddenly he's acting like a lovesick puppy. I'm curious about what magic you've worked." Isabella felt her cheeks burn. "There's no magic. We're just compatible." "Compatible," Sophia repeated with obvious amusement. "Is that what we're calling it? Because I've seen the way my nephew looks at you, dear, and compatible seems rather understated. How does he look at me?" The question slipped out before Isabella could stop it, and she immediately regretted asking. Sophia's smile was knowing. Like a man who's finally found something worth fighting for, which, given Dante's history of avoiding anything that requires actual effort, is quite remarkable. That evening, the rehearsal dinner was held in the estate's grand ballroom, with 200 of Manhattan's most influential people in attendance. Isabella found herself seated between Judge Patricia Hamilton, a family friend who'd known Dante since childhood, and Dr. Michael Chen, a renowned heart surgeon who'd worked with several of Isabella's colleagues. "You know," Judge Hamilton said quietly as they watched Dante work the room with his usual charm, "I've never seen him like this before. Usually at these family events, he's counting the minutes until he can escape. Tonight, he keeps looking over here to make sure you're comfortable." Isabella followed the judge's gaze and realized she was right. Even while engaging in animated conversation with his father's business partners, Dante's attention kept drifting to her table, checking if she needed anything, making sure she was enjoying herself. "He's just being polite," Isabella said, but even she didn't believe it. "My dear," Dr. Chen chimed in with a gentle smile, "I've spent 30 years reading people under pressure. That man isn't being polite, he's being protective. There's a difference." As if summoned by their conversation, Dante appeared at Isabella's side. "Mind if I steal my fiancé for a dance?" On the dance floor, surrounded by couples who'd known each other for decades, Isabella and Dante moved together with an ease that surprised them both. The orchestra played something slow and romantic, and Isabella found herself relaxing into Dante's embrace, despite all her reservations. "Your family likes me," she observed, noting the approving glances from various Ashworth relatives. "Why wouldn't they? You're brilliant, kind, and you make me want to be a better person." The words came out more honestly than Dante had intended, and he felt Isabella stiffen slightly in his arms. "Dante, I know this is supposed to be temporary, just until I prove myself to my father and you secure Tommy's future. But these past few weeks..." He spun her gently, bringing her back into his arms with a grace that spoke of expensive dance lessons. "I can't pretend this is just business anymore." Isabella's heart hammered against her ribs. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe we should consider the possibility that this could be real. That maybe we could actually try to make this marriage work." The song ended, but they remained on the dance floor, staring at each other as couples moved around. Them. Isabella felt as if the ground had shifted beneath her feet. "I can't," she whispered. "I won't let myself fall for someone who might change his mind when the novelty wears off. I've seen what happens when rich men get bored with their charity projects." Dante's jaw tightened. "Is that what you think this is? Some kind of charity project?" "Isn't it?" Isabella's voice was barely audible. "Your father chose me specifically, because I'm everything you're not. Poor, selfless, grateful. The perfect redemption story for a spoiled billionaire. You think so little of me?" There was genuine hurt in Dante's voice. "I think you're a good man who's capable of more than he believes, but I also think you've lived in a world where everything can be bought, including people. And I can't afford to become another acquisition you'll eventually outgrow." Before Dante could respond, Theodore appeared beside them, his face grave. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to talk. All of us, now." In Theodore's study, surrounded by leather-bound books and the weight of family history, the three of them faced a crisis none had anticipated. "The Hartford Group is launching a hostile takeover," Theodore explained. His usual composure cracked. "Victoria has been working with them for months, using inside information to undermine our position. If they succeed, they'll break up the company and sell it piece by piece." Isabella felt lost. "What does this have to do with our wedding?" "Everything," Dante said grimly, understanding immediately. "The marriage was supposed to prove my stability to the board and secure my position as heir. If we don't go through with it, Victoria becomes the primary beneficiary, and the Hartford Group gets their inside ally," Theodore finished. "Dante, I know this puts you in an impossible position. If you want to call off the wedding, I'll understand. I won't ask you to sacrifice your happiness for the company." Isabella watched Dante struggle with the decision, seeing the weight of generations of family legacy pressing down on him. She thought of all the employees who would lose their jobs, the charitable foundations the company supported, the ripple effects that would spread through the community. "We go through with it," she said quietly, surprising them both. "Isabella," Dante turned to her, "you don't understand what you're agreeing to. This means the marriage can't be temporary anymore. We'd have to stay together, at least until the company is secure. That could be years." "I understand perfectly." Isabella's voice was steady, even as her heart raced. "Tommy will have his treatment, the company will survive, and we'll figure out the rest as we go." "But what about what you said, about not wanting to be another acquisition?" Isabella met his eyes, seeing the vulnerability he tried so hard to hide. "Maybe it's time for both of us to take a leap of faith. Maybe we're both worth the risk." As they left Theodore's study, the weight of their decision settled over them. In 3 days, they would exchange vows that started as a business arrangement, but had become something infinitely more complex. They were about to promise to love, honor, and cherish each other. And for the first time, both were beginning to believe those promises might actually mean something. The fairy tale was becoming real, but like all the best stories, the ending was still unwritten. "I never thought my wedding day would begin with a panic attack, a corporate espionage crisis, and the realization that I might actually be falling in love with the man I'm supposed to marry for business. But then again, nothing about this. Arrangement has gone according to plan." Isabella pressed her hands against the cool marble of the bathroom counter in the estate's bridal suite, trying to steady her breathing as the sounds of wedding preparations echoed through the mansion. Below, outside, 300 guests were already arriving for what Manhattan society had dubbed the wedding of the decade. The Ashworth estate had been transformed into something from a fairy tale. Thousands of white roses created cascading archways. Crystal chandeliers sparkled in the morning sun, streaming through silk pavilions, and a chamber orchestra tuned their instruments on the terrace overlooking the manicured gardens. But inside the bridal suite, chaos reigned. Isabella's wedding dress hung like a silk and lace monument to dreams she'd never dared have, while her phone buzzed incessantly with updates from the hospital about Tommy's condition. He'd had a setback during the night and couldn't attend the ceremony. Maya Chen, her maid of honor, paced frantically while trying to coordinate with Elena Rodriguez, who was having a complete meltdown over the last-minute security changes needed due to the paparazzi invasion. The photographers somehow got past the perimeter, Maya reported, waving her phone. "There are drones circling the property, and someone leaked the guest list. Entertainment Weekly is offering $50,000 for exclusive photos of you getting ready." "Let them," Isabella said with surprising calm. "After today, this will all be public knowledge anyway." "Izzy, are you sure about this?" Maya sat beside her best friend, studying her face with concern. "I mean, really sure? Because once you walk down that aisle, there's no takebacks. This isn't just some contract anymore. You're talking about spending years with a man you barely know." Isabella thought about the past month, the disastrous first meeting, the magical gala, the hospital visit that changed everything. The moment on the dance floor when she'd seen past Dante's carefully constructed walls to the man underneath. "Actually, I think I know him better than I've ever known anyone. He's arrogant and spoiled and completely out of touch with reality, but he's also capable of incredible kindness when someone shows him how to access it. And Maya, I think I'm falling in love with him." "Oh, honey." Maya's expression softened. "Are you sure it's not just Stockholm Syndrome? Because marrying your captor is like textbook psychology." Before Isabella could answer, a soft knock interrupted them. Dr. Elizabeth Manning, Tommy's primary physician, entered with a gentle smile that immediately put Isabella at ease. "How is he?" Isabella stood, her heart racing. "Stable, but exhausted. The new treatment protocol is aggressive and his body is adjusting. He's conscious and asking for you, though. Dr. Manning pulled out her tablet. Actually, he insisted I bring this. He said you'd want to see him before the ceremony. The video call connected, and Tommy's face appeared on the screen. Pale but determined, his eyes bright with the stubborn intelligence that had carried him through years of medical challenges. "Hey, sis," he said, his voice slightly slurred but warm. "You look beautiful, like a real princess." Isabella felt tears threaten her carefully applied makeup. "I'm so sorry you can't be here. I know how much you wanted to walk me down the aisle." "Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss this for anything." Tommy's grin was mischievous. "I'm watching the live stream that Marcus set up. Front row seat without having to wear a tux." "Tommy, listen to me, Izzy. I know you're doing this for me, and I know you're scared. But I've been watching the news coverage, and I've seen how that guy looks at you. He's not just going through the motions anymore. He's crazy about you." "How can you tell from news footage?" "Because he looks at you the same way Dad used to look at Mom. Like you're the most amazing thing he's ever seen, and he can't believe he's lucky enough to be near you." Tommy's voice grew serious. "Don't marry him just for me, Izzy. Marry him because you want to, because you deserve to be happy. And maybe he's figured out that he doesn't deserve you, but he's going to spend the rest of his life trying to be worthy of you anyway." Meanwhile, in the groom's suite across the estate, Dante was having his own crisis of faith. His best man, Alexander Cross, a childhood friend who'd built his own tech empire, watched with amusement as Dante paced in his perfectly tailored tuxedo. "You know, most grooms are nervous about forgetting their vows or tripping on the way to the altar," Alex observed, adjusting his own tie. "You look like you're contemplating fleeing the country." "Maybe because I am." Dante stopped pacing and stared out the window at the gathering crowd below. "What if I ruin this, Alex? What if I hurt her the way I've hurt everyone else who's tried to get close to me?" "When have you ever hurt anyone who tried to get close to you?" Alex asked with raised eyebrows. "Because as far as I can remember, your biggest problem has always been that you never let anyone get close enough to hurt." Before Dante could respond, Theodore entered, looking every inch the distinguished patriarch in his morning coat. But his usual composure was cracked. The stress of the corporate crisis was taking its toll. "The Hartford Group is making their move," Theodore announced grimly. "Victoria leaked our quarterly projections early, and they're using the numbers to claim mismanagement. The board meeting is scheduled for Monday." "Then we call off the wedding," Dante said immediately. "I won't drag Isabella into a legal battle that could destroy her reputation." "Actually," came a new voice from the doorway, "that's exactly why we can't call it off." James Morrison, the family's attorney, entered with a briefcase full of documents. "Victoria's coup depends on portraying you as unstable and unfit to lead. Calling off the wedding at the last minute would play right into her narrative." "So I'm trapped," Dante said bitterly. "No." Theodore placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You're choosing to fight for something that matters. The company, yes, but also the woman who's changed your entire perspective on what life could be. What if she changes her mind? What if she realizes she deserves better than a reformed playboy with more money than sense?" Alex and Theodore exchanged glances. It was the first time either had heard Dante express genuine self-doubt about his worth as a person rather than his value as an heir. "Then you prove her wrong," Alex said simply. "Every day for the rest of your life, you prove that she made the right choice." As the ceremony time approached, guests filled the estate's gardens. The who's who of Manhattan society mingled with Isabella's colleagues from the hospital, a mixing of worlds that created fascinating conversations. Senator Patricia Walsh found herself discussing healthcare policy with Dr. Sarah Kim from the pediatric ward, while tech mogul David Chen was deeply engaged in conversation with Father Miguel Santos, the priest from Isabella's childhood parish, who would be performing the ceremony. The moment everyone had been waiting for arrived as the orchestra began the processional. Maya walked down the aisle first, radiant in deep blue silk, followed by Dante's cousin Sophia, who'd insisted on being included in the wedding party despite her initial skepticism about the arrangement. Then the bride's music began. Not the traditional wedding march, but something unexpected. Pachelbel's canon in D, arranged for full orchestra with a solo violin that sang like an angel. Every head turned as Isabella appeared at the top of the grand staircase that led down to the gardens. She was breathtaking. The couture gown flowed around her like liquid silk, its intricate beadwork catching the late afternoon light. But it wasn't the dress that made the guests gasp. It was the radiant joy on her face, the confidence in her step, the way she moved like a woman who belonged exactly where she was. Dante, waiting at the altar beneath an archway of white roses, felt his breath catch. In that moment, all his doubts evaporated. This wasn't a business arrangement or a performance for the cameras. This was the woman he loved, walking toward him to begin their life together. As Isabella reached the altar, their eyes met, and the rest of the world faded away. Father Santos began the ceremony with words about love, commitment, and the courage required to build a life with another person. Marriage, the priest said, his voice carrying across the garden, is not just a union of two people, but a transformation of two individuals into something greater than the sum of their parts. It requires not just love, but the daily choice to love even when it's difficult. When it came time for vows, Dante reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. But then, looking into Isabella's eyes, he set it aside. "Isabella," he began, his voice strong and clear. "4 weeks ago, I thought I knew what my life was supposed to look like. I thought success was measured in dollars, happiness could be bought, and love was for people who couldn't afford better distractions. You've taught me that I was wrong about everything that matters." His voice grew softer, more intimate, as if they were the only two people in the world. "You've shown me what real strength looks like, not the kind that comes from money or power, but the kind that comes from choosing to care for others, even when it costs you everything. You've taught me that the most valuable things in life, compassion, integrity, the ability to find joy in simple moments, can't be purchased or inherited." Isabella felt tears threatening as Dante continued. "I promise to spend every day of our marriage trying to become the man you deserve. I promise to love you not just for who you are, but for who you inspire me to be. I promise to build our life together on a foundation of respect, partnership, and the kind of love that grows stronger with every challenge we face." He paused, his voice catching slightly with emotion. "I promise to never take for granted the gift of your love, and to remember every day that marrying you isn't just the smartest business decision I've ever made. It's the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me." When it was Isabella's turn, she didn't need notes. The words came straight from her heart. "Dante, when I agreed to this marriage, I thought I was making a sacrifice for my family. I thought I was trading my dreams of true love for financial security. But you've taught me that love isn't always a lightning bolt that strikes out of nowhere. Sometimes it's a seed that grows slowly, nurtured by respect, understanding, and the daily choice to see the best in each other." Her voice grew stronger, more confident. "You've shown me that people can change, that wealth doesn't have to corrupt, and that sometimes the most spoiled prince can become the most devoted partner. You've taken the time to understand my world, to value what I value, to see my family as your family." She reached up to touch his face gently. "I promise to love you not in spite of your flaws, but because your willingness to grow and change makes those flaws part of your charm. I promise to challenge you when you need challenging, support you when you need strength, and remind you of your worth when you forget it yourself. I promise to build our marriage on honesty, laughter, and the understanding that we're both still learning how to be the people we want to become. And I promise that whatever challenges come our way, hostile takeovers, family drama, or paparazzi with drones, we'll face them together. When Father Santos pronounced them husband and wife, Dante's kiss was gentle, reverent, full of promises for their future. The applause that erupted from their guests was thunderous, but neither heard it. They were too lost in each other, in the magnitude of what they'd just committed to. As they walked back down the aisle as husband and wife, Isabella caught sight of the livestream screen showing Tommy cheering from his hospital bed, Maya crying happy tears, and Theodore looking proud enough to burst. But it was the expression on Dante's face that took her breath away. Pure, unguarded happiness, mixed with something that looked like awe. The reception was a celebration that would be talked about for years. The dining pavilion glowed with thousands of fairy lights. The champagne flowed like water, and the orchestra played everything from classical waltzes to contemporary love songs. But the real magic happened in the quiet moments between the spectacle. During their first dance as a married couple, Dante whispered, "No regrets." "Only one," Isabella whispered back. His face fell. "What?" "That it took a business arrangement to bring us together. Imagine how much time we wasted not knowing each other." Dante's smile was radiant. "Then we'll just have to make up for lost time." As the evening progressed, guests were treated to unexpected moments of genuine joy. Tommy made another video appearance during the toasts, bringing the house down with his assessment of Dante's transformation. From spoiled brat to worthy brother-in-law in 30 days, it's got to be some kind of record. Theodore gave a speech that moved half the audience to tears, talking about the difference between inheriting a legacy and earning one. But it was Sophia Ashworth who provided the evening's most memorable moment. During her toast, she announced that in honor of the wedding, the Ashworth Foundation would be establishing the Isabella Hartwell Ashworth Center for Pediatric Care at St. Mary's Hospital, ensuring that no child would ever be denied treatment due to inability to pay. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Dante and Isabella found themselves alone on the terrace overlooking the gardens. The fairy lights twinkled like stars, and the sound of the fountain provided a peaceful backdrop to their first quiet moment as husband and wife. "So," Isabella said, settling into Dante's arms as they swayed to the distant music, "what happens now?" "Now we figure out how to build a real marriage out of a fake engagement," Dante replied, his arms tightening around her. "How hard can it be?" Isabella laughed, the sound pure joy. Famous last words from a man who once bought a yacht just to throw a party. "Hey, that yacht provided employment for dozens of people and raised money for charity. I'll have you know it was a very responsible purchase." "Uh-huh. And the Ferrari collection?" "Transportation. Very practical transportation." As they bantered and laughed, both realized that somewhere along the way, their elaborate performance had become the most real thing in either of their lives. They were no longer playing roles or fulfilling contracts. They were simply Dante and Isabella, two people who'd found each other against all odds and were brave enough to believe in forever. The hostile takeover, the media attention, the family drama. It would all still be there tomorrow. But tonight, under the stars in the garden where they'd promised to love each other for better or worse, none of that mattered. What mattered was the way Dante looked at Isabella like she was his whole world, and the way she looked back at him like he was her greatest adventure just beginning. What mattered was the laughter they shared, the trust they'd built, and the future they would create together. As the clock struck midnight, officially ending their wedding day, Dante swept Isabella into his arms and carried her toward the house, both of them laughing like teenagers. Their fairy tale had become real. Their business arrangement had transformed into true love. And their story, the billionaire and the nurse who taught him that the best things in life can't be bought, was just beginning. In the end, Theodore had been right. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the most unexpected teachers. And sometimes, just sometimes, arranged marriages really can lead to happily ever after. The end.